submit them. Okay, good.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Mining Match. This is our weekly talk where we pick a mining topic and we discuss it among mining professionals. So before we start, I want to mention our sponsor. This is Spanomine. If you are in the mining industry and you work in Latin America or you speak Spanish, you should join Spanomine. We have professional development and networking for the people in Latin America. All right. Today, our guest speaker is Dr. Samal. He's joining us from Utah in the States, and he will be discussing how we do mine-to-mill reconciliation to improve the productivity in a mining operation. Okay.
Can you see me well? Okay.
There's better.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon from Utah. I know that many of you joining from different parts of the world. I know some of you are from even from India. Today's topic is productivity improvement through mine-to-mill reconciliation. Thanks to Mining Match Network. Alan, thank you for hosting me here. Like Alan said, I am based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. If you have not been to this part of the world, I welcome you all to this mountain city of United States. And briefly, in my introduction, this kind of my one slide introduction here. I'm trained in geology and mineral exploration from India, and my latest degree is from the SIU Carbondale, Illinois, here in US. In industry since 1996, my projects are spread all over the world, close to 30 countries. Close to 120 projects. That doesn't include the small ones. I'm working in the exploration, mainly actually, planning and strategies. There are also other areas where actually I specialize in geostatistics and resource estimation. I think that's what people know me about technically, but I also advise. I provide strategic advices to some exploration agencies through World Bank. I have worked on almost all metallic commodities. I'm not very good in coal, but yes, I've worked on diamond, multiple diamond projects, and some industrial minerals too. I'm a qualified person by virtue of my membership with AIPG, the CPG qualification I have, and I'm also a registered member of SME. A member of many international organizations. I also have a deep interest in academic activities and volunteering. So I sit in board of editorial boards of multiple scientific journals too. So I decided to talk about reconciliation because this is one of the topics we don't hear a lot in public domain. Reconciliation, what it is actually, it is the, it is like, you compare what you estimated to get versus what you got, right? You estimate versus you measure what you got. Measure the performance of the operation. It can be, volume, grade, tons against the set targets in terms of mine planning. We recalibrate the planning parameters based on the reconciliation results. We assume that one or more measurements is reliable. We'll go into it, and we can have a Q&A session towards the end too. I'm looking forward to a lively discussion on the topic. Reconciliation also helps to define KPIs, like that is key performance indices, properly, so that reliable accounts of resource and reserve and metal can be maintained. It leads to reliable valuation of the projects and properties too. And today I'll be actually sharing some of the in some of the slides. You'll see that there are some of the figures and some of the charts I'll share with you there. I created them based on real projects, but they are not directly from the projects I did. But I hope that those slides will actually add to the discussion towards the end. What we do here is in a simplicity diagram. We have a mine planning. Towards the end, we have the extraction of metal. But it's just mine planning is also based on the resource, right? So the resource estimation happens first, then mine planning, then extraction, that is mining and metal extraction towards the end. Here actually at the end, we realize the value. What happens in between is mining, that is the extraction part here. So mineral resource then jumps to mine planning, then mining, that is the digging portion of we extract the rocks, process it, then extract the metal. Again, if you take it to coal, that will be actually realization of the BTU that we get out of the coal that we mine. The goal is to find out and present how well the actual production compares to planned ore and waste movement from mine to plant, and improve the productivity through bridging the gap between planning and production. This is, I think, the second point is important. That's what I stress personally on. Reconciliation, when we do mine to mill reconciliation or model to resource model to mine planning to mining, then goes to the mill. When we match those things, often we see, well, here is a problem, there is a problem. Actually, I see it in the other way. I see there's a rooms for improvement in one or multiple nodes of the entire value chain. Let's have a look. Again, we assume that the all data is correct, that in another slide, I will explain actually what are the nodes where we collect the data. But we assume that all data is reliable and correct. Mine to plant production data are accurate measures of the reality. That, if you are working on a mining operation, you know that how well we do actually measure grades and tonnages when we do the reconciliation, those things come up. Maybe actually but initially we assume that those production data are correct. I coined this three letter kind of acronym, model to mine to mill reconciliation. Um, so so I'm going to use that M3 during my presentation. So flow of data, as you can see, this is one way I map the entire value chain, starting from the long-term resource model to life of mine reserve model, short-term model, mining and dispatching. This is where digging happens, on-site crushing, milling, processing, and smelter. Then one can say, well, after the smelter, then we also market the product. That is true, but we're going to focus on this part. Also, on the upstream of long-term resource model, the exploration, whole exploration work goes on. But yes, we know that, but we're going to focus from resource model to where the really rock ends and metal shows up. During during these processes, from long-term resource model to life of mine reserve model to short-term model, what we have, the input data that we use are exploration reload data or blast hole data. These are all planning stages. We estimate, we set goals, right? What we can actually get if we do this. Then here on this part of the chart, you see that we get the run of mine, the crossed ores. These are products we get in the value chain, right? So in my map here, my map of the the value chain, I see, well, this side of the value chain is planning. This side is the production and material flow. The measurements happen. Here we plan on the left side, on the right side we kind of measure, what we produced. So that's briefly like what reconciliation is. We plan here, we get here. Then if we get here, then on this side of the arrow, we say, well, did we really mine what we planned? Did we get the material that we planned to mine? So again, on this map, this is the model side, this is the mine side, and this is mill. I always see these are three things, okay? Okay, so that's a brief introduction about the reconciliation process. I believe someone's cursor is open. Please don't use those things. The annotation, Alan, if you can disable the annotation for the audience, that will be great. There's someone's like unknowingly is probably doing that.
Okay.
The known reconciliation processes, what we know, this is an exhaustive list of different processes as listed by, you can say, Morley and Cook, their work published in 2009. They're exhaustive, okay? What I focus on in this, geology model, mine plan, and versus actual reconciliation. This is a fantastic list. I really admire whoever put this list in here. But here is my opinion on this. Let me see. Okay, this is short-term production model reconciliation there. All these are the blue highlight that you see. To me, these are essential parts of reconciliation. Like here, the long-term mine plan model reconciliation, resource model to reserve model. It's kind of validation versus reconciliation that we do too. It's a long-term versus short-term model reconciliation that we do. To me, these are all different things shown in here are probably, in my opinion, they're redundant. We don't have to do it. I'm not going to discuss about the mining production versus shipping. That's beyond the scope of this discussion. To me, the reconciliation process only has 5 steps. That's it. Resource model to reserve model, that is life of mine. Take the life of mine to mine it. Then mining, whole mining process, we measure what we plan to mine, did we mine it? Then mining the mill. At the mill also, we compare what we expected to get, did we get it? So that's kind of my simplistic reconciliation process, only 5 steps. Okay, I think, I just put these lists in terms of the process here in the diagram. Here's an example. Let me see, it's kind of bothering here. Okay, so I can erase them. So as you can see, this is an iron ore example. I'm going to focus on these 4 of them. It's a real example. I modified the numbers to show the relevance to this slide or to this presentation. You can see in this case, the resource model and reserve model, like they're 98% comparable. And you go to mining model to reserve model, 98% comparable. Mining products and the mining model, close to 96%. This is a fantastic thing, isn't it? So what should we do in this mine? It's time to celebrate a good year, isn't it? This is a yearly numbers. The reason I'm showing this slide is when things go well, we celebrate, but many times we don't document. Wherever I've done the reconciliation in my career, at least I've done 30 to 40 different projects and various commodities, including uranium and diamond. Actually, I've done reconciliation works as an employee of a company or as an expert, outside expert. My observation is most of the time people don't record or take a note of why we had such a good year. We mined, we extracted the commodity that we plan to do. I think this is one of the takeaways from this slide. Please celebrate it at the same time, record it. Here's another example from another iron ore project. So here actually what I'm comparing it, if you see this X and Y axis, on the X axis is a blast hole data grade, and the Y axis is the iron grade. It's a grade control model. It's a model versus the real data. What you are seeing that, the point number 1 show that some proportion of the reserve may have questionable quality, like these two quadrants. All the blocks sitting here, all the material sitting here, blast hole said, well, this is above the cutoff grade. Okay, the grade control model says, no, it's below. So the material, according to model, is going to a stockpile or the waste dump, wherever, but it's actually good ore, good material, according to blast hole data. That is the most reliable data. And this quadrant here, the blast hole data says, it's kind of a low-grade stuff compared to what we knew from the grade control model. That's also loss of value in there. So the destination of those mined blocks is going to be different compared to what we planned in the planning stage. So that's kind of a, make it simple. This is a much larger project compared to what I'm presenting here. To me, at least, there's some questionable quality data that is either from blast hole data or grade control data. Somewhere there's a questionable grade information in this particular project. However, the majority of the reserve tonnage were well predicted. Look at these 2 quadrants in here. The waste blocks falling in here, about 15% of the blocks in that particular project, they were correctly classified as waste material. The ore material, most of the blocks, they are correctly qualified as ore material. No doubt, there's some differences. There's a cluster, it's not a straight line. I recognize it, but ore is classified as ore. Here, waste is classified as waste. That's what we want to get. So during the reconciliation process, see, this is simple diagram. My way of working actually in the industry is, please do the simple diagrams, simple analysis. It tells a story. You don't have to do a very complex, statistical analysis. This just tells you that, well, there is some problem that leads you to the next step probably. Here's a copper project. Going back to the previous slide, this is a couple of years worth data, what I'm showing you for an iron ore. In a copper project, what you see, over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months data. What you can look what you can observe in here, the over control model. This is the one going to in a very short term, like bi-weekly or monthly planning or mining. This is the grade from mines, the blue line. The red line is a grade measured at the mill. At the mill, hold on to the green line. We'll discuss that. The over control model predicts much higher from June onwards, isn't it? Over control model predicts much higher compared to what the mining department said and what they mined consistently. So we can imagine that this particular project, the mining grade was lower for those months. That's one of the reasons probably. I was looking at some of this data again. On the y-axis, the numbers that you're looking at is not real; they're modified, and the charts are modified here too to make this presentation. What you're also looking at, the difference between the grades measured at the mill and the mine. Have a look. The grades measured at the mill, just look at the red one and the mine. They're consistently different except the August. And in September, totally different thing. This is, when you look at a monthly scale, this happens. This is not new, this happens. But when we do the diagnosis through the reconciliation process, we try to focus on why, what happened in August? What did you do good? What happened in these months? But there's something happening in this summer. In summer month, there's something happening. Okay, so when we look at those, you can find the ways to reduce the differences, hence improving the productivity of the mine, of the project, in coming months. What worries me all the time is the adjusted grades. Due to my own experience, I always look for the factors that people use, how the grades were adjusted, and what was the factor. That's a whole different story. We'll probably reserve that discussion to another time. Here's another iron ore project. I'll show you here. Here the color codes in this cross section that you can see, they are same colors. But what you see, there's huge differences in this particular area. That's why I picked up that. So they picked that one. And actually, what you're looking at is the lithology codes. These blocks that you're seeing. These are supposed to be the drill holes. Are supposed to be the grade, really grade actually matching the lithology there in the iron ore, in this iron ore project. Looks like there is a difference. Sorry, I take it back. Looks like a good match in here, but have a look down here. This is a real cross section. The reason I was looking at this is the iron ore project was doing great tonnage wise, but they wouldn't have the grade. Sometimes they would have a really way higher grade in some months. So no noise from the mine. They're doing fine, looks like. But in some months, particularly in the winter months, they would have problem. Why in the winter months they would have problem? That's one of the reasons I was looking at. One of the things that I had to really point out that the geology of this deposit was way more complex compared to their resource and reserve model that they used. They're oversimplified. Just to make a relevant comment in here, we suggested that the mining engineers and the geologists, we suggested that they just need to go back to basics, look at the drill hole data. If they can actually modify the geology model, make it, when it's that complex, the geologists may be difficult to model it, but see, and where they stood today and at that time, it's oversimplified. Find a balance between those two, and the reconciliation process would be much simpler, and they would actually save a lot of money. What they thought was a problem at the mill, actually there was no problem at the mill. It's actually how you see the geology is impacting and the mine's productivity. Why those things happen, I think we already discussed that. Here, actually, those people, like those of you who are doing the resource model, maybe you would see, you may actually see this diagram. This is a contact plot analysis that we do during resource modeling. The reason I'm showing in here is this diagram shows that if you take the iron content in here, looks like two lithologies that look very similar. Very similar. There's no difference in the iron content. But the moment you look at the magnetite content, they're two different rocks. You know, guys, what was the problem in this particular project? The mag separator. Someone thought they need a big mag separator. They're going to spend a lot of money. We went back to the data. So my general principle always look at the fundamentals, look at the geology, how the geology was input in the resource model, then reserve model, and go and follow the chain if it was done well. So this is one of the things. It looks very simple, right? You can fix it. Look at the mag content. That's why that directly relates to the mag separator. Attached to the productivity very much. So if you can actually balance in the magnetite content reconciliation well by simplifying the geology, by improving the geology input of geology in the resource and reserve model, a lot of problem could be fixed in this particular project, and they could save a lot of money and not actually spending on the improvement of the mag separator. Here is a diagram I got from Petards. If you have not actually been to the Petards sampling program, I strongly actually suggest you guys have a look at his programs. Learning about sampling. The blast hole sampling for grade control. If you have been to a mine where the blast hole sampling happens, you see how the samples come and pile up, makes a cone, right? And I have done a lot of audits on those type of things, having look at how the samples come and how the samples are collected. Here's one of the pictures I took from a mine. The guy takes an auger, puts it on the pile, and I ask him how many samples you take. Oh, maybe 4, maybe 6. That's like, what is the protocol of the mine? So those type of questions actually helps you to understand what is really contributing to the good reconciliation in a particular project, or maybe if they have a problem, what is it, and how to catch that. Here's another point actually I was looking at in one other project. When they're preparing they collect the blast hole samples, how they prep it, how clean the lab was. In this particular one, because this was a copper, gold, silver project, if you look at the gold content and another commodity, I can't name it actually because of the sensitivity of that commodity's market value today. If you look at that, you say, well, it's maybe good for the copper. You won't have too much differences, but you're looking for the element that you're looking at. Maybe you need a little bit of work in the sample prep lab. So there are multiple areas where you can improve to properly measure the production data from a mine. It can be coming from the blast hole, maybe sample prep, maybe how the samples are collected physically. And the way it's collected at the copper mine, not the same way it is done in a gold project, and not the same way it's done in iron ore project. I've been to many iron ore projects in Brazil, Mexico, of course, a couple of projects in India and US and Canada. Having seen all those iron ore projects, their sampling procedures are different. I'm not saying that any of them is bad, but some of them are better than the other ones. We can discuss those things in a Q&A session if you guys like. So we are talking about the production here, plan versus production. The goal is to assess the performance of the mine plan by comparing the plan with actual production. We know in this process, mining engineers play a big role, planning to execution of the mining. But we also have the folks collecting the samples, that maybe geologists, and maybe sometimes I've seen mining engineers doing it. The worst case, what I've seen is surveyors sent it, they have no clue what they're sampling actually, without proper training. Assumption is the production data must be the most accurate measures you have, to you have timely access to survey pickup or drop counts from the tons, grade control blocks and models. So there are assumptions made, and then there are real measurements made. The point is, are the assumptions correct? It's a good practice to go back and check those assumptions. Is my assumption correct, still correct? If not, maybe we need to readjust. Here's another example. Here is that a chart of total tons that is ore and waste mined every year. You can see this is 20 years of data. To 2022, 2021, 22 is a projection. So a couple of years ago, I was looking at the whole project here, gigantic mine, surface mining project in Africa. I'm looking at the mine production. I was like, wow, it just changed a lot in this, this period in here. What happened? They're like, okay, you're seeing it's a big change in here, but have a look how we planned. The life of mine planning was like this. So you can see the planners would say, well, the mining did not have proper production. But my question was, how do you explain this area? We are sitting in this area at this time. We're saying there's a huge difference because the low period. But what happened in here? What happened? Did we actually really understand what happened between 2002 and 2005? Why the mine was not producing much compared to the life of mine? So there are multiple questions. If this project asks those questions, got the answers, probably here the life of mine would be reviewed and readjusted. In this particular case, what I found, the mine was producing well. The people are brilliant. They want to work. But at the same time, when I was at the mine, I saw lines of trucks idle too for 2 hours during the product produce, a product shift. So that's, just shows that there is some issues at the mine, right? So my point was, is the life of mine plan is correct? Is it tuned to the country, the locality, and the real data on site? We have what we know that we're all talking about reconciliation at the time scale, isn't it? Monthly, quarterly, annually. I showed you guys like this is an annual production. It looks pretty smooth. When you go to monthly scale, you may see that there's a very kind of rough reconciliation data. That is expected. Some mines, they produce weekly data and they think is really bad. To me, guys, you're looking at too granular data. Well, like if I go to a potash mine and some iron ore mines, I've seen their, weekly data, they look okay. But there are some precious metal mines and one of the, I think it was diamond project, another commodity, and the weekly reconciliation doesn't make any sense. At that time, this should be, my suggestion was look at your monthly, quarterly, or yearly. As you go from monthly to quarterly to annual, annual reconciliation, you will see these numbers really smooth out. That's kind of that's what we know about general reconciliation. In my years of experience, I haven't seen many projects or all projects or most of the projects doing the spatial reconciliation. But there are some good projects that do maintain the spatial reconciliation data. What it is, you go basically verify the actual production in a plan spatially. That means, area in different areas, not just all areas together like A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4. They look at area by area. What happens is that sometimes you'll see, well, you plan something, but you mine something. Okay, in plan is kind of in. You know, part of your mind, part of you did not mind. But then there's some part actually you plan to mine but you did not mine. So there are four different ways spatial reconciliation is done. And again, I have probably seen two or three projects only where this is done on a regular basis, simply because it's difficult and it requires a lot of resources to be employed to maintain the data and analyze the data, get sense out of it.
5 minutes.
Alan, actually, Ken Moss writes that he can't get in. Is he there?
Excuse me, who?
The gentleman Ken Moss. He writes that he can't get in.
It's not in the waiting list.
I don't know, but he's actually on LinkedIn. He's writing that, but
okay.
I don't know. I just saw it. Anyway.
Thanks.
Here's another way. Actually, I'm just showing the. This is another project where we're looking at a iron ore project with a problem in silica. Okay, for a purpose, I'm just showing you silica data. What you are looking at, I'm just looking at one easting slice going from west to east. Okay, so the reason I'm showing this chart is also in this particular mine, there was a trend going from in the east-west direction. As you can see in this area here, there's a huge gap between what is planned and what is mined. The blue line is short-term planning, and the red line is long-term planning, and what they mine in here, the black line. So there's a huge gap in there. But as they go to between area 1 and area 3, there was an area they're kind of doing okay. And there was just the trend was reversed in area 3. So this is just an example of how you measure, against what you planned in a simplistic way, going, in any direction. You can actually go, in this area by area too. You can be very granular. As you can go granular, you can see that a lot of data coming, then there'll be, at a point, you will see which data actually I'm gonna actually admit as the best data. Again, another example here on the iron ore project, you can see, well, let me see. The tonnage lines, yeah, looks okay for these months in here. There was some problem at the beginning, but and in the initially that there was something in here. But look at the actually the ton that you look at. Sorry. In another project, you will look at that. They say very well matched, and you don't actually see much differences. So the different scenarios happen. In these, actually, what you were looking at the down, there's a grade line. You see the differences actually where you have the tonnages aligned so well. You have the 3% loss in the metal in the grade. So you got to look at both tons and grades. And also, when you're looking at the tons, look at how the tons are measured in any mine. Is it from the trucks? Is it from the conveyor belt? Is it the tons reported by the mine or tons reported by the plant? Do they meet each month to negotiate the numbers, what actually and reconcile the numbers between plants and mines, which is a general thing what I've seen actually in many mines and throughout the world actually. But at the end, this is a 3% loss in metal for the iron ore project. It wasn't a big deal in this particular case. What matters the most is the metal quantity. It's not just tons, it's not just the grade, it's both. Here's another case. This is we're moving to actually another area of the discussion. This is a total life mine here, life of mine here. We're looking at again, this is like projected 21, 22. What you see here, mine production, and this is life of mine. I just simplified the line. To me, the life of mine plan was not realistic, but the mine production definitely has some problem. During this time, there's no review whatsoever happening. Nothing happened. They did not actually record it. And when this time comes, the ton of technical reviews happening. Every year there was something was happening. My point was, what happened in here? What you guys did? Should you not actually have learned something, particularly this year, 2009 to 2011? Why that there was differences? I knew many things I had to report to the executives there, but the thing is, again, emphasizing the fact that always we must actually record the successes, as we do panic during what we think is a perceived failure or perceived and a loss in the production. I intentionally use the perceived production because my way of doing the reconciliations, have a look at the life of mine plan, please. Is it reliable? Was it worth? Is it really meant for that mine? Again, here's another project. I'm just presenting a 10 years data in here, 10, 11 years of data. In year one was nothing. There were some issues in there. But look at the differences in this mine in terms of plant versus produced metal. Really great 5 years, no issues there. Again, same type of issue, same type of case in this particular mine. I looked for the reports, who are the independent contractors came here, looked at, and you had any document that shows that all these are reasons for having those good 5 years. They didn't have any clue. Oops, we are here. That's why the whole team of mining engineers and geologists and financial modelers say, what's going on? Okay, major technical review is happening. Point is, again, please do these reviews. All the participants coming from the producing mines or mining owners or the operators, please record all these years equally. Please emphasize every year what you're getting. I think towards the end of my presentation here, my final thoughts. Reconciliation is a process of validation of resource, reserve, and mine plans, and all the associated assumptions of incremental improvement in productivity. It is an integrated and a multidisciplinary process. I emphasize on this point a lot. If I go as a geologist to do the reconciliation for a large project, I make sure that I talk to the geologists on the site. If they're, I'm lucky, then, I get a geometallurgist. That means as a geologist or a metallurgist having the other discipline also under control. Surveyors, they have a very big impact here because sometimes they go to the mine and survey the area, and that's where the volumetrics come in. Mining engineers provide a lot of information. Process engineers and metallurgists, everyone. You have to look at the whole value chain. So it's an integrated and a multidisciplinary process. You see, it is a process when practiced properly adds a lot of value. You haven't seen me in last 40 minutes of discussing this, that what you will hear in general in a mining project, that, this kind of take it as a fun, guys. It's like, oh, mine did not produce much, but maybe actually plants, machineries are not good enough type of things. But when you bring them all together, you get a real story. Okay, what happened in here? And it is a process. It adds value. It corrects the assumptions and replaces them with the real numbers. I'll share a story towards the end. It calibrates the parameters to a realistic one. This is the story I want to share. I was in a very large mining project in Namibia, and looking at the mining plan there. And I did not know exactly why they're doing the reconciliation and having me look at all this data. I learned it afterwards, why they're looking at it. One of the things I found out, the life of mine plan was done by a brilliant team of mining engineers, but there was one problem only. They visited the mine only once. That is 25 years before the month when I was there on the site. No one ever visited again. No one ever looked at the life of mine again, fine-tuned it, did anything, nothing. It is static life of mine. The only problem, one of the problems I found in that is they assumed 8 hours a day shift, but during my stay on the site, I was there for 6 or 7 days on site, and we're working, 8 to 10 hours a day. I find that people only work 6 hours a day. That's the culture. You got to be incorporated in your life of mine plan. You know what is a realistic number. It's not an academic thesis we're writing, where we are planning that can be executed. This is one of my findings in this particular project. If we do it properly, it reduces a lot of loss and due to unknowns. In another project I'd like to just share with you guys, in this project, when I was looking at, I found some documents about 15, 16 years, now about 10 years old documents, where it was advised the mine need to improve the production. They need to buy a fleet of trucks and stuff, and they need to improve the process plant too, with specific advices, brilliant advices, what they need to do. Then the things happened at the project. I'm not going to disclose what happened in the project. They just bought the fleet of trucks. Did the other recommendations are not implemented at all. What do you expect from that project, right? We invested so much money, we did not get the production. Guys, you had all these things also. When a mine produces much, it got to be processed. To process it that and get the metal out, you have to improve the process plant too. That wasn't happening. But when I said this, okay, we did not know about it. So it's not actually blaming anyone. It's rather finding out where the project can improve so that the value can be realized. It's always a good idea to consult with an external expert if you don't have one, to review the production history also of the operation to make sure the plan and production are reconciled. Thank you all. I think this is my last slide. If you have any questions, please ask me, and I leave my contact information there just in case anyone wants to reach out to me. Alan, floor is open for questions.
Thank you very much, Abani. I have opened the microphones for anyone. So now we will go and do the networking. It's just 10 minutes. It's automatic. It's already time. So if it's going to be closing, so just so you know. And you can find and you can choose what room to go. And Dr. Samal, it has his own name, so you can go and talk to him. And there you go. Thank you very much. And for you guys that are in YouTube watching us, this program has concluded. Thank you very much.